If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And please join me on my website at nanice.com. Thank you.
It's your time for Chai with Nanice. Get ready for substance, clarity, change, and especially empowerment. Get ready to turn over stones, uncover stories, and get to the heart of the matter in every area of your life. Any mood runs, any emotion flies, and your dreams are within your grasp. There are no limits or boundaries, and your comfort zone is out of reach, yet it's the safest place you will ever be. Come in, sit down, and have some chai with Nanice.
Welcome to Chai with Nanice. I'm Nanice. Well, today is a new day, and tomorrow will be a new day. And in some ways, it's as if we get a new chance to start over each and every day. And how do we start over? Do we start over by thinking the same thoughts we thought the day before? Do we start over by doing the same things we did the day before? Do we start over by having the same types of relationships we did the day before? Or do we start over with new thoughts and new feelings and new beliefs, new relationships, a new way of looking at the world? Well, today, I invite you to bring a whole new concept into your life, and that is shining. What would happen if when you wake up tomorrow morning, that instead of going through the same old this and that, the same old routine, that you chose to shine, that you chose to be the light in your life, and in so doing, being the light in everyone's life? What would happen to the world around you if you allowed that light inside of you to burn brightly? If you allowed yourself to be who you really are, what would happen to you? What would happen to your family, to your friends, even to the people that you randomly met in your everyday doings? What would happen to your life if you allowed yourself to shine? You see, the thing is, we all have the ability to shine. Every single one of us can shine. And the only thing that stops us from shining is not being who we really are. Well, why aren't we who we really are? That's the question. And that's what we're going to be talking about on today's show. By the end of the show, my hopes and dreams for you, because I do have hopes and dreams for you, is that you know what it means to shine, and you make the choice that you will shine in your life. If you've been asking, how can I be the difference I want to see in this world? The answer is simple. It is to shine. So, speaking of shining, my beautiful shining daughter-in-law, April Perry Kritzer, is my guest on the show today. Welcome, April.
Thank you. Always a joy to be on here.
So, many of you, if you've been listening to the show for a while, April's been on quite a few shows, and you followed along with her journey. And if you haven't heard her on the show before, I totally recommend going back into the archives and looking for the various shows that she's been on, because we've done some really great shows together, haven't we?
Oh, we've done really good shows.
Yeah. And so, when we talk about this concept of shining, and what does that bring up for you?
It brings up a lot, especially today. As most of you probably know, Nanice does a Echo Coaching School, and I'm actually a student on that. Mm-hmm. So I was going back and listening to some of the recordings from the classes that we've done. And the one that really just hit me was on a class on called Separation. And it brought up a lot of things which has to do with shining, because I was actually looking at my worthiness piece, because I was looking at how that's like been my main thing, just talking about choice and how we have the choice to live our lives, and whatever is in our lives we've created. So I started thinking about that. I mean, there's a lot of good things that you can see in my life. I have a great family. I have this beautiful new baby. Yes. Lots just amazing things. And I looked at all these things I had, and I realized, I said, the biggest thing I'm missing is me.
Yeah.
I just don't see that. And once I saw that, I was like, wow.
So what does it mean to miss you? I mean, I'm sure that there's a lot of people out there that know exactly what you're saying, but there's also people out there that, well, how could you miss you? Because wherever you go, there you are. So what would you say to that? How do you miss you?
So I say the way I'm missing myself is yes, I'm here, but I don't see the beauty in me. I don't see how I shine. It's like I can see it in everyone else. I can go up to someone and, oh, they're so amazing. They're so radiant. And it's not by the things they do. Right. It's just I see, wow.
Yeah.
But most of the time you can see that person can't see it for themselves, and that's what's going on for me. Yeah. It's like someone can see my radiance and see, wow, she's just this beautiful, loving spirit. Mm-hmm. And I don't see it. Mm-hmm. So that's how I'm missing.
Well, you must see it somewhat to even have this conversation. So, because a lot, it's like if you've ever complimented someone and they totally they'll make excuses, like they can't even hear it, or they don't even hear it at all. So you have this concept that in some ways I must shine because people are saying that I shine, but you don't have an experience of it. So that's a really good distinction. So you know that you do. Right. Like it's a thought in your head, I must shine, but you don't have an experience of it. And I think that's huge because it's the difference between just knowing something and living something. And that's when everything changes. We go through this process, and I talk about this even as the manifestation process, but it applies here too, that, we go from a thought to a belief to a knowing, right? And then with manifestation to a choice and then inspired action. But here, a thought, a belief, a knowing, and then a living of, that it actually gets into the body, and we live it, we know it. So it's not like we have to do anything or be a certain way, it's just who we are.
Right.
Yeah. So a good question is what is that gap and how to bridge that? And so from your perspective on one side of the bridge, okay, what does that look like? What does it look like if one side of the bridge is knowing that you shine but not experiencing yourself as shining, and the other side of the bridge is experiencing yourself as shining? What's the bridge? What's the gap?
I think the gap is, well, I'm just really looking at that.
I always ask her these really hard questions.
Yeah.
and then we have this what they call, I think, dead air time. And so I know a lot of people are uncomfortable with that, but I'm not, because my greatest philosopher, Osho, I loved Osho. He actually wrote more books than anybody, and he's in the Guinness Book of World Records. And he would do these meditations, and he would be talking and then just go completely silent. And so it's like in the silence, people would drop into the meditation because your mind becomes empty. So,
right. So the gap, I think, what is that? I think it's just, because it really is important to have both. But yeah, it's like sometimes you're just in that gap between the experience of it and knowing it.
Right. Like reading something in a book and then really getting it. Because a lot of times, like, we'll read something in a book or see it in a movie or whatever, and we're like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. And we adopt it as a belief. Yeah, that makes sense. I believe that. But we don't yet experience it yet. Yeah.
And I think it's just part of the journey. Is what I'm saying. Because I'm just watching myself, as you're asking me the question, and I see myself like I'm like on this river, and there's this bridge, and I'm just walking step by step, and each step, it's a process for me.
Yes. Yeah, I can see that's true. For many years, I knew that there was something about me. And people would say that, even before I could even see it. I remember, an old boyfriend telling me how dynamic I was and not really seeing it for myself, but really liking how that sounded, you know? And people, saying things to me over the years in relation to, in this regard, my shining. Of course, those were not the exact words, but this is the umbrella. And it really was a process. It really was a process to getting to this place where I feel the shining. So it's like I feel myself as the sun, for example. I could just feel it, and it's completely different when it's just a thought in your head versus a feeling in your body. It's a completely different experience, and I think it changes everything.
Right.
What it looks like to me is there's a place where you have to choose it. where you have to choose it, where you stop resisting it, where you stop resisting your specialness, where you stop resisting that you are somehow different. And I mean different in a good way, because different is always good. That you stop resisting that you stand out in a crowd for this reason or that. It doesn't really matter. And I remember looking back, even in my childhood, and always feeling like I had to kind of suppress myself. Like I felt like I couldn't be better than anybody else. And like even the areas that I knew, especially the areas that I knew that I was better, I would intentionally hide my gifts and my talents because I didn't want to make anybody else feel bad. I didn't want anybody else to think that, oh, I'm better than them. And honestly, I've heard this a lot from my clients over the years. In areas that they know that they have the ability to shine in, but they are not allowing themselves to shine in. I hear over and over again, well, I don't want anybody to think I'm better than them. Mm-hmm. Does that resonate a little?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you don't want to be conceited or feel like, Yeah. So you just suppress it.
Yeah. And I think that this is an old program. I'm writing a book, The Red Pill, on programs, and these programs that really have controlled us and affected our lives for a very long time here on this planet, and we're breaking out of them now. And one of those programs that I talk about is the Normalcy program. And the Normalcy program is a program that it's in us, and it keeps us wanting to be normal like everyone else.
Right.
Okay? Because if you go back, the beginning of times, humanity, if everybody was different and everybody went their own ways, then we wouldn't have survived. So what was necessary for people to survive was to fit in and be normal. So these programs were automatically put in place. Maybe in our DNA. I'm not really sure how they're installed. I'm thinking that that's probably true, but I don't know for sure. But they're inside of us, and you can see them all over the place. And there's constant signs in schools and organizations and in work environments, and everywhere you look, you're being told how to fit in and be normal. And we do that. Even like the census, it's like they go around, fill out the census, then they'll let you know if you're normal or not, right? And if you're not normal, well, you're like, oh, you have a desire. It's like an innate, a programmed desire. Well, I want to be normal. I want to fit in. And we particularly see this in schools as well. Fit in. Don't be different. Fit in with the norm. Don't make waves. Don't make ripples. And this was necessary for a really long time to ensure the survival of our species. Well, over 6 billion people, I think we've pretty much done a good job there. Good job, world. Now we're at a different place in our evolution. Now we're waking up, which is what I believe 2012 is all about. Waking up out of this program and so many others that have ensured our survival. And it's interesting, April, because when I first really started to understand this concept of how programs are running us, my initial response was, it's a bad thing. And now I don't see that. What I now understand programs to be is a survival mechanism, so that we would survive until we would wake up and move past the programs. And as soon as we can recognize them and think for ourselves and make choices for ourselves, in that individual, the program is dropped. When that happens collectively, the program's dropped. So we're at this time where we're being asked to evolve past this concept of fitting in, past this concept of being normal. And what that means is we're being asked to discover who we really are and having the courage to express who we really are. For our world to evolve and to go further, for the transformation to happen, it requires us to each be that very special person that only we can be. Of all the billions of people in the world and all the people who have ever existed or will ever exist, there is only one you. And I hear people say, oh, it's all been done before. What's the sense? It hasn't all been done before, because if it hasn't been done by you, it hasn't been done before. Just like no two snowflakes are the same, no two people are the same ever. And you bring special gifts and talents and beauty to this world that no one else could be or bring. And it is divine. So, when we talk about transforming the world, and I've talked about that a lot, on this show and other shows, we talk about being the change we want to see in the world. Okay, so what does that really mean? What that really means is being your true self, being who you really are. And that means shining. That means shining. And it's a choice. It's a choice that once you make the choice, okay, I'm going to choose to be special. I'm going to choose to be who I really am. I'm going to choose to shine. And I'm going to let go of the need to fit in and be normal and be accepted. Because that's a huge piece there. When we make that choice, then everything changes. And I think that's the bridge. And it may not happen in an instant, or it might. But it does happen. It does happen because the further we move over that bridge to the other side where we shine, the more we experience ourselves as that shining, as that sun, as that luminescence, as that radiance, as that beauty. And the thing is, so many people are walking around, and I was guilty of this for a long time, and I hear that you were too, of hiding ourselves, of suppressing ourselves because we don't want to, make anybody else feel bad or, seem conceited or that. We really disservice everyone. Mm-hmm. We really do. And I didn't understand that then. Only when I really made the choice to be who I really am and just am me, whatever that looks like, I got that every time I'm with others and I'm just being who I really am, it creates the space for them to be just who they really are. And every time I am with others and I'm shining, it gives others permission to shine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not from this place of I am better than, or I'm conceited, or, anything like that. It's from this place of I love myself. Mm. I love who I am. I honor myself. And that becomes the bridge for others. To be in the presence of someone who honors themselves allows you to honor yourself. You see that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's something real peaceful about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've been thinking a lot about, there's a program out there, if people know about it, it's called Heroes, and we've been watching it every night. And it actually just made me think about what we're talking about, because on that show, there are certain people, they all have different abilities. Not everyone does, but they show different people, and they all have different kinds of abilities. And I was just thinking how they shine, and some of the abilities might seem as a negative. I mean, some of them have like nuclear powers, and they can walk through walls and read minds and different things like that. But what I really been finding interesting about the show is how it's like they had their own path, their own way that they can shine, and how it all is connected together. And it just really makes me think of how we all have the same ability. We all have our own talents in different ways that we shine. And just the same thing, we have that gift, and we should be sharing that with the world. And I can see how that's a huge disservice if we're not sharing that gift, because it really does connect to the whole.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It does connect to the whole. Yeah, it's like a puzzle piece. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and so the series Heroes is it's a metaphor for life. Here are these people, and they have these amazing gifts, but we also have these amazing gifts. Now, I can't walk through walls, and I can't fly. Well, at least not yet. But I can be me, and in being me, I offer something that no one else can, and that's true for everybody listening to this. Everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a matter of having the courage just to express that. And that might mean completely changing your life around, and that could be really, really scary. Really scary.
Yeah, really scary.
So what does that feel like for you? What does it feel like to go out of your comfort zone and just be yourself everywhere?
The biggest one that I've had is with my biological family, because I find whenever I'm around them, especially with the lower vibration, I find myself slipping back and really just forgetting who I am and forgetting just the beauty in myself. Mm. And so what I've been doing lately, I'd say within the last week, is I've just really been noticing that and just choosing to let myself shine. Mm-hmm. And so I realized with me not doing that around them, it's been hurting them, because then, like you said, it's like they do the same thing, and it's like I drop and then they drop, and then we're just dropping and dropping and dropping.
Right.
And when I choose to be myself, I notice there's more of a lifting there.
Right.
For
It's
both
uplifting.
of us. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I remember you actually being challenged with this for a while, that for people that have been listening, they know that you've gone through a lot, and there was a lot of childhood abuse and a lot of issues with your mom and your family. And over the last couple of years, you've been healing for years, but particularly the last year or two, you really have come into yourself. And we would talk about how you would be your real self around us. And us being, and Dustin, your husband, and, Travis and Clay, who are my sons and Dustin's younger brothers, and, the rest of the family. But when you would go and visit with your primary family, your mother, your sisters, your father, that you would actually change how you acted. And you would come home, and immediately I would see your energy down. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So it was like you were. So what was that about? When you were going to see them, what was happening inside of you that you were changing your behavior?
It was almost like I was matching them. It was matching their state. So if they're sad and depressed and just not feeling very good about themselves, I noticed I would match that same behavior, copy them.
I think that's what a lot of people do.
Yeah.
I think we do that all the time. And in some ways, it's almost like we go into different dimensions, right? I mean, it really feels like that. Because it's like you walk into a room and there's somebody depressed, and we have this tendency to match that energy. And so it's like we're almost like going into a vortex.
Right.
And we're matching that energy. Yes. So you made a different choice. This was going on for a while, and it became really obvious to you that you were having a different experience of yourself, right? In different environments, depending on who you were with. And I think you even saw this with some friends too. That depending on who you were with, it determined how you felt.
Exactly.
And this went on for quite a while. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then what did you decide?
Well, actually, I'll kind of change within this last week. I kind of like to share stories, so
please.
I go on Facebook quite a bit, and I love Facebook because I connect with my friends, my family, a lot of people I haven't even talked to in 10 or more years. Mm-hmm. So it's just been really great. Well, I posted some pictures of my son, 2 months old, and was really just having fun with that.
Yes.
And one of the pictures I posted was, if you remember, we put him in a popcorn box, just to...
One of those really large mega popcorns. Because he was so little, he could fit.
And it was just cute, and it was fun, and it was just showing how small he was.
Yeah, and he was held. It wasn't like he was... And I actually am the one that did it, so...
And my sister, in front of everyone in Facebook, people write their comments on the photos and stuff like that. My sister, Shay, she wrote a harsh comment about putting my son in a garbage can. And I was really, really offended by this, because it was like, it was this feeling that you're a bad mom, and what are you doing to your child? And in fact, she even called me on it, called me on the phone about it. And, my first thought was to kind of go into defense mode.
Right.
And then I just really got to the place, no, I don't need to do that. I knew inside, I know I'm a good mom. And then the other part was to lash at her, because I've noticed areas where maybe I thought she wasn't the greatest mom. And I thought about, you know what, I'm not her, and I'm not what's going in and what's going on inside her head, and it's not for me to judge her.
Right.
And so I just turned it around, and I even made it comical. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And at that point, I didn't have to explain myself. I didn't have to say, okay, I'm a good mom. Right. I wasn't thrashing at her. And then what I did at Facebook, I did the same thing. I turned it comical.
Yes. Yeah. So what?
And that felt good. Yeah. That didn't feel, because lashing at her didn't feel good. Defending myself didn't feel good. But just kind of making it comical, light.
Right. Right. Yeah. So what I'm hearing you say is that you made a choice not to go into a particular state that she was inviting you to come on. Yeah, awesome. So you decided to stay just clear with yourself.
Right.
So instead of being affected by other people's moods, states, comments, that you actually made a choice to stay true to yourself.
Right.
And in that way you shined.
Yeah.
Yes. Because people do want us to come into their emotional states. They want us to join them there. And I'm sure there's a lot of people listening to us today and they're like, yeah, there might be somebody at home or at work. Could be someone anywhere. It could be a neighbor, that people are inviting us into their emotional states. And it's really important that we get really, really clear where we want to live. And when I say where we want to live, what I mean is how we want to feel and how we want to experience ourselves and how we want to experience life. And so what I've been shown recently is that literally we go into different dimensions depending on our emotional states. So there's for those of you who are following this concept that we're moving from the third dimension to the fourth to the fifth dimension, and this is a transformation of the earth, really what we're looking at is changing emotional states.
Right.
So the third dimension I would describe as one of separation. This is not a bad thing. This is a wonderful thing, because without this concept of separation, we can never know connection or love. We must separate in order to even know ourselves.
Right, exactly.
You need mirrors in order to see what you look like, right? You need someone else in order to experience love for another and then for yourself. It really is beautiful in that way. It's divine. And when we... Well, let me say this. So it's like, so what I've been shown is that, so this third dimension has been this state of separation, which is very associated with fear.
Right.
Anxiety, worry, and that's what we've been for a really long time, and that's why we see, wars, and we see so many, problems on the planet.
Right.
That have resulted from separation, not caring, disconnection, all of that. And so now with this transformation that we're going through is towards connection. It's this fifth dimension is one of love, like the old song Aquarius is. It's really one of love, and that's where we're moving. So it's actually a different dimension. So when we go from a state of fear to a state of love, what we're doing is moving from one dimension to another. When we go from a state of love to a state of fear, we're also moving from one dimension to another. And it's interesting because I used to believe that if I was in a good mood one day, that of course my day would be better. And I used to believe that it was because, I just noticed different things. And now what I understand is that I'm really having a different experience. I'm actually in a different dimension. Right?
Yeah.
Play with that. Think about that. Don't take my word for it. Have an experience with that. And so we really get to choose our lives based on this. We really get to decide where we want to live, if we want to live in a dimension of fear or if we want to live in a dimension of love. And we all know that there's people that live in dimensions of fear and there's people that live in dimensions of love. And we get to choose whether we want to accept their invitation or not. And so what is an invitation? So an invitation is, like in April's experience here, somebody, her sister writes her on Facebook trying to, pull her into a dimension of fear and anxiety. And April, in the past, you probably would have went there. But now, instead of that, you've decided that you wanted to stay in a dimension of love and connection.
Right.
And so the other part of that is that you offer the invitation to your sister. And this is true in all relationships. So if we're having a tough time at work, and we go into work and there's a lot of fear and anxiety going on there. And how do you know it's fear and anxiety? Well, it just doesn't feel good.
Right.
But if we go in with this experience of love and connection and we see everyone and everything through the eyes of love and connection, then we're actually creating a whole new dimension. And either our situation has to change or the people in that experience have to come into our dimension. It can't be both.
Right.
It can't be both. But what a lot of people do is, they're like, oh, I'm feeling really good. I'm having a good day. I'm feeling just all this love. And then, my husband or my wife or, whoever comes home and then they pull me down. Well, no one is pulling you down.
Right. Exactly.
It's the choice. And not only is not anyone pulling you down, but there's also an opportunity for you to create an invitation to invite them into a higher dimension. That's what's happening now. That more and more people are becoming aware that there's a choice of how we live life. And where do we shine? Well, we shine in the dimension of love. We don't shine in the dimension of fear or separation. And there's something wrong with that dimension. It's fine. But it's a shadow. And you don't shine in the shadows, you shine in the light. And where's the light? The closer you get to being love and understanding yourself as love and expressing love, the more you shine. And it's a choice that we have every single day, in every way. And so instead of complaining, that this person's grouchy or that person's grouchy or this person's trying to bring you down, don't accept the invitation. I don't want to go to that party. Yeah. I'll extend an invitation. And if you really want to play with this, just experience yourself as love. Create an experience of vibrating as love. And maybe we'll even do a little meditation on how to do that, which would be very cool. Yeah. And take that and go into like a supermarket or a drugstore or any place that there's people. Go in any place there's people vibrating with this higher dimension of love and just see what happens. And what I'm going to guess is going to happen is people are going to look at you, they're going to feel something different, and by the time you walk out, you will have created a whole new energy. You'll brought a whole new dimension into the environment that you were in. And I didn't really get how profound this was until recently. When one of the girls that I know at Whole Foods here locally, she said to me, she goes, every time you come in here, you change the energy of the store, and it stays even after you leave. Wow. Yeah. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. And all I'm doing is bringing in an energy of love and not taking on anybody else's energy of anything other than love. And then, of course, love magnifies itself over and over again.
Yeah, and it ripples out.
It does ripple out. It does ripple out.
Yeah.
And it's about being true to yourself. Where do you want to live? Where do you want to live? I want to live in love.
Yeah.
That's where I want to live. I want to live in the dimension of love because I know from there, everything changes. Yeah, so should we do a little meditation on that?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Okay. So if you can, close your eyes. If you're driving, don't close your eyes. And close your eyes. And just follow your breath for a moment. And notice the space between the inhale and the exhale. And the exhale and the inhale. And notice how with each breath you become more and more relaxed. More and more relaxed. And if there are sounds around you or anything that might have once disturbed you, that will just be a signal to relax even more into yourself. And imagine that the earth has a heart, and that heart is in the middle, the center of the planet. And that heart beats, and that heart is pure love. And it sends out an intense energy that moves through the earth, through the crust, through the bottom of your feet, and up through your legs, through your torso, into your heart and your whole body. And that this love from the earth, from Mother Earth, vibrates through you and vibrates through everyone and everything around you. And just keep breathing deeply and focus on your heart. Focus on this love in your heart and notice that it melts away any fear, any worry, any concern. Notice that it enriches you, enlivens you, and shines within you. And as you become aware of your heart shining, notice how it moves through your whole body and ripples out beyond your body, shining like the sun, like sunlight. Notice that it is all around you, and you can even direct it to certain places and certain people. And notice as you shine your light, your love on another, that your love and your light intensifies inside of you even more, so much so that you shine even more, that you are light and you are love, and this is who you really are. And when you choose to express yourself from this light, from this love, that everyone and everything around you is immediately affected and shines back onto you. And know that you can return to this place at any time. In just a moment, you can remember that you are light and you are love and you shine. You shine. And take another deep breath and bring this feeling back to consciousness. You truly are light and you truly are love. And it's natural. And in fact, April, would you agree that it takes even more energy to hide your light than to let it shine?
Oh, yeah. It feels like bricks, yeah.
Yeah. Isn't that something? Mm-hmm. It seems like when you're on the other side of the bridge, not allowing yourself to shine, it seems like, it's a lot of effort, to just finally be yourself and to finally shine. And by the way, they're one and the same. Just being yourself and shining are one and the same. But the truth is, it takes so much effort to hide your light, to hide who you really are. You have to really convince yourself that you're unworthy, that you're not enough, you're not good enough, you're less than. You have to really keep playing these stories over and over and over again. And that's a lot of effort.
Yeah, it's a big job.
It's a huge job.
Yeah.
I know, I did it for years. And then finally, just to allow yourself to have the courage to be the real you. Because it does take courage. It means throwing off all the protection and all the illusion that once kept you small and what appeared to be safe. But it's really not safe to hide yourself. Yeah. It's the most dangerous thing you can do. Mm-hmm. Why?
One, it's like you're creating more and more of what you don't want, because it's like you're envisioning everything you don't want, and then all of those things create in your life, and you're also everything that you feel negative about yourself, you start believing it, and you just keep getting further and further down the path of where you don't want to go. That's what I would say.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you're going to create those relationships that you don't want to have.
Right. The ones in the third dimension. The fifth dimension.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we all want fifth dimension relationships. Yeah. And this is not about, blame or shame. Most of us don't know who we really are because that's how we've been conditioned.
Right. Because
our parents didn't know who they really were. Because they were conditioned. And their parents didn't, and so it's been passed down. It's been passed down that we really are. So we've been brought up to believe that, we have to fit in, we have to be the same, that our worthiness is dependent on what we do and who we are and how we act out in the world. So, of course, we're not going to know who we really are. But those are just old programs, and they need to fall away now. So many people are experiencing a lot of chaos and crisis in their life right now, and this is why. It's because the old programs don't work anymore, and to continue evolving, that they have to be dropped. To continue evolving, that we need to let go of these false beliefs that we're not worthy or our worthiness is dependent on anyone or anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it can be a hard thing to do, especially if you've been living according to a belief that says that you're not worthy, or you're only worthy if you prove yourself to be so.
Yeah.
Systems will change. If we just look at any of these systems, or the education system, for example, when we go to school, up until we're 5 years old, and this is true for the United States and many other countries, but up until we're 5 years old, aside from the fact if we haven't had any kind of trauma or child abuse for, a 5-year-old, they're free
Yeah.
They're creative. They use their imagination. They're fun-loving. They're playful. And then they start school at 5 or 6, and everything changes. And that first day of school, they learn that there's good and bad, that there's right and wrong, that there's deserving and not deserving, that there's failure and success. And this is all under the umbrella of worthy or not worthy.
Right.
And then they spend the next, 12 years in that program. And then you add to that religions, and you add to that, our economic and financial systems, and so many other, systems that are in place. And these are all programs that show us that we have to prove that we're worthy. So, of course, most people go around in their lives thinking that they have to prove that they're worthy.
Right.
And that's a lot of work.
Oh, yeah.
You can't shine. It's impossible. You cannot shine and have to prove you're worthy at the same time. You can't. The idea that I have to prove my worthiness must first be dropped in order to shine. Because that shining can't come from, look at what I've done. Look at the degree that I have. Oh, look at how I look. Oh, look at my car or my house or my job or, whatever it is. Those things are great and fun. Wonderful. But as long as they're proof that you're worthy, you're never going to shine because you're hiding behind them. And if you're hiding behind anything, you can't be shining because whatever it is that you're hiding behind will create a shadow. And you can't shine in the shadows. Can you?
No.
No. Yeah.
Going back to the school, because that's been the biggest thing for me is you look at children, and especially you'll even look at like a 10-year-old, and it's like stress. It's real stress for that child when all that child should be having is that imagination, the fun, but with school, with the homework and fitting in and worthiness and all of the things that go ahead, if you ever talk to a 10-year-old, it's stressful. It's like they don't want to go to school because of all these different factors that are going on. And the biggest thing where we get our beliefs is when we're kids. So that's what I find very, very, very interesting. Right.
Yeah, I wish I remembered this now, but I recently read somewhere about, I think it was 12-year-olds, that there was a huge percentage of 12-year-olds that were depressed due to being overwhelmed with school and homework and everything else. 12-year-olds.
Yeah, and that just shouldn't be.
That shouldn't be. The children should be allowed to be children and have fun, to be themselves. If we are constantly bombarding them with all these things they have to do, then when do they get to really discover themselves? And I know a lot of parents, they believe, okay, I want my child to learn how to do everything so that when they're older, they're going to know how to play the guitar, and they're going to know how to ice skate, and they're going to know how to, and the list goes on and on and on. And it was really interesting because when my kids were younger, there was a part of me that said, well, maybe I should be doing this. Maybe I should, sign my kids up for all these different lessons so that they could, grow up to be adults that know how to do all these things. But there was another part of me that said, no, just let them be. Just let them figure out what they want, because if they're interested in something, they'll let you know. And so now look at Travis. So Travis he's going to be 15 in a couple of weeks. Can't believe it. And, there was a time where he was like, well, I'm bored. I don't know what to do. And I just kind of let him be with that. And gradually, he got interested in things. And he chose things. And now, what does he do? He practices his guitar several hours a day.
Yeah, skateboarding, wakeboarding,
all these things,
everything.
He goes rock climbing. Of course, he skis and snowboards, and all of this. And it's not because I'm like, Travis, you have to learn how to do this. It's because he's interested in it. It's completely different. And yes, there have been things that he tried that he just went for a couple lessons or a few lessons and decided that he didn't want to do. And I know a lot of parents are like, oh, if you have to commit to it, and if you don't, then once you commit to it, then you have to do it. Well, that's scary for a child because then they don't want to commit to it.
Right.
And I was very lucky as a child because my parents let me be fickle. They would let me try something, and if I didn't like it, I stopped, and then they let me try something else, and if I didn't like it, I stopped, and if I did like it, I continued. And I'll tell you that there were a lot more things that I stopped than I continued. but at least I got to taste it, you know? And, you know, for a time I was accused of, you know, never finishing anything. Well, that's because I was sampling things. I'm very grateful. What fit for me, I continued with. Mm-hmm. I think this is the greatest gift that we can give our children. Allow them just to sample things, see if they like it. They don't have to make a huge commitment. If they don't, that's fine. And if they do, that's wonderful too. It's all great. It's all great. And so what applies to children applies to us too. Right. Allow yourself to try something. Allow yourself to be fickle. Allow yourself to be someone who never finishes anything, because sooner or later you will find something that feels good and fits well. That is you. You know, so many people, you know, they come. So many people come to me for coaching, and I don't know really what I want to do. You know, I don't know what I want to do. Do anything. Try anything. Try everything. We're so afraid to just try things because we think that, you know, trying something means that I have to commit to it. No, just try it. And if that, you don't like that, try something else. And you keep trying until something fits. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, I think that that's a huge gift that we get to give to ourselves. Yeah. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. And what we're really talking about here is the courage to be the real you. Yeah. And that's the only thing that we really have to be. That's it. Your only job is just to be who you really are. That's it. That's it. Yeah. Yeah. I have an article on my website that might be interesting for a lot of our listeners to read. It's called The Courage to Be the Real You. And it just gets into, you know, what that looks like and how you can do it. You know, it's a step-by-step plan on how to be the real you. And that's on my website at nanice.com, NANICE.com, and go to article shows and more and scroll down. I think it's under life empowerment. And while you're there, you'll see a whole bunch of other articles, and many of them speak about things we're talking about today. Just really how to shine in your life. That's the secret to a great life. Wouldn't you say, April?
Yes, very much.
Yeah.
It's the only way to live life.
Yeah. Yeah, to really live.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we only have a few minutes left, so what words of wisdom would you like to leave our listeners with today?
The biggest thing is, I was just picturing that bridge again. Because I think a lot of us find ourselves in that bridge, and for myself, I'm a very visual person, but yeah. I just imagine this, you know, even if you can just drop one rock at a time, and you can choose what your rock is. It can just be whatever issue you find. And if you just drop one rock a day, you're just going to find yourself so much lighter. Yeah.
Those rocks being false beliefs.
Right.
Yeah.
Just whatever those things that we hold on to. And every person, every rock is going to be different.
Right. Right. Because we're talking about making ourselves lighter.
Right.
To be light. To shine.
To really shine.
To shine. Oh.
And that's when you can really experience yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that's what life is all about.
Yeah.
Experiencing yourself.
Good.
Thank you, April. That was beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's what life is really about. It's about shining. It's about experiencing yourself. Yes, there's a lot of things to experience in life and in this world. But you came here as you. And that means that you're here to experience you. You're here to experience what it means to be you. You're here to experience, how to express you. And you're different than anybody else. You see things. You see beauty. You hear beauty. You feel beauty in ways that no one else feels or hears or sees. That is divine. That is the divine expressing itself and exploring itself as the divine. We are transforming. We are transforming as a planet. We are transforming individually. We are transforming as a human species. And all around, we're waking up. And waking up simply Waking up simply means remembering who you really are. Who you really are. It's like you go to sleep at night and you dream, and then you wake up in the morning and, you start to come back to reality, and you remember who you really are. Well, now we're going through a similar experience of waking up, except that we're becoming more conscious of who we really are. And this might mean that memories from the past come back. This might mean that we become aware of secrets that we've hidden even from ourselves. This might mean that people from our past pop up. This might mean that issues that were never healed, or maybe we thought were healed, come to the surface to finally be healed. Crisis, chaos is a gift, because in that, creation happens. We get to create, and we get to become who we really are and live life from a conscious and awakened state. And this truly is the bliss that we've all been looking for. This is what I imagine, and this is what I imagined for you. It's out there waiting for you, and there's no limit to the amount of bliss that you can feel. Please visit me on my website at nanice.com. That's Nanice.com. Look for that article, The Courage to Be the Real You. There's also another article about the upside of the depression, which will be really, really useful as well. There's tons of articles. I also have all my shows archived on Nanice.com under articles, shows, and more. There's a free book download and 2 free song downloads. And don't forget to take the pledge. It will change your life. And remember, email me. I want to know who you are. I want to know your thoughts, your feelings, your beliefs, your epiphanies. I want to know you. Till next week, you have been listening to Chai with Nanice. I love you.
Thank you for having Chai with Nanice. Please go to www.nanice.com for great free stuff that will empower you to live your best possible life. Free books, articles, shows, meditation audios, and so much more at Nanice.com. That's Nanice.com. Nanice's books are also available in all major bookstores and Amazon. Check out The Infinite Power of You, Even Gandhi Got Hungry and Buddha Got Mad, Zest Point, Lip Prints, and many others by Nanice Ellis. To find out about one-on-one coaching and how Nanice can personally coach you to experience your best life possible, please email mybestlife@nanice.com.
If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And please join me on my website at nanice.com. That's Nanice.com. Thank you.